welcome to the Pursuit of Healthiness Podcast. I'm your host, Wienanda van Delft. I'm a health and mindset coach, graphic designer, and a cat mom. I love conversations that are on a more raw and deeper level. And today's guest is Andrew Kap. Andrew holds one goal above all others through his various projects, and one of them is his latest book called The Last Law of Attraction Book You'll Ever Need to Read. It's a bold statement to make, so I was really curious. So let's find out more about what the law of attraction is and how we can make it work for us. Welcome, Andrew, to the Pursuit of Healthiness podcast today. Thank you so much for being here. But first, can you tell a little bit about yourself?
A lot of people know me as that guy who wrote the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read. And obviously that's a mouthful. So it's a long-winded title, but it's also like a loaded title because a lot of people have many misconceptions of the law of attraction. You know, they look at it through a certain vantage point of maybe a popular movie that came out or a book or something like that. And oftentimes there's a few misnomers in there. So through whatever questions you ask, I'm hoping just to shed a little light on that in the context of how someone, whether they believe in it or not, might be able to use the concepts to their advantage, because people might be surprised to find, and I learned this the hard way, and I'm also happy to talk about that. But, you know, a lot of this, it doesn't even come down to worrying about doing things perfectly or doing things right. It's more about, you know, how do I lean into simple gratitude? How do I lean into simply a better perspective? Yeah. And it's almost shocking the kind of results people will get if they actually give themselves the opportunity to do that. It's almost like a movie story. It's almost like magic, but no one will know unless they actually lean into it. And I guess that's my best shot at an intro, and happy to answer any questions from there.
Yeah. So what is the law of attraction? What is it?
Law of attraction is based on the premise that everything is energy. That means your energy, I'm energy. You hold your hand under a microscope, you see it's vibrating rather than being this physical, tangible thing that your senses are telling you it is. But by the same token, since everything is energy, so is our thoughts. And we just so happen to be in the fortunate or unfortunate position, depending on your situation, how you look at it, that your thoughts, that frequencies attract like frequencies, meaning you can use your thoughts to actually intentionally invite good experiences into your life. Meaning you could think about that job promotion and the job promotion could come. But just to skip ahead a little bit, some people might be saying, well, that's nice and everything, Andrew, but I think about the job promotion every day and it hasn't come. Where's your law of attraction now? Yeah. To which I often ask, well, are you thinking about that promotion with a sense of impatience and frustration and fear, uncertainty and doubt and jealousy? Or are you thinking about it in sense of anticipation and confidence and enthusiasm? Because if you're part of the first group, you actually are not thinking about the job promotion. You're thinking about the lack of the job promotion. You're sending out the signal and the energy and the vibe of the lack of it, which is why you're so upset, versus thinking about something with more confidence, more ease, more patience, and more of a relaxed feel, inviting the universe to even surprise you and maybe even give you something better.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed, for example, when I was younger, I was really young. At that time, I thought I was a grown up, but I was 15 years old and I had it with boys. I was like, I'm done with them. I don't even want to speak to boys anymore. And then 2 weeks later, I met my now fiance. We were together for 10.5 years. And it's just that moment, because before I've said it multiple times, like I'm done with boys, like, but I wasn't really done, because that's what people said, you know, you shouldn't think about it and you know, then it will come. But I was like, yeah, no, I'm done with them. But still, you know, I went on dates but really the moment when I really felt like I'm done until I find the right guy, 2 weeks later, I met him. I'm not saying it happens so fast to everybody, but it really is like, I don't know.
Well, obviously, you know, I'm putting words in your mouth now, and I invite you to correct me if I'm wrong, but I hear you say that. And the sense I get is that basically what you were doing is you were letting go of this requirement and obligation and resistance that you didn't even realize you were holding on to that time. And as soon as you let that go, as soon as you threw your hands up, it's like, you know what, that's it, I'm done. Because, and this is another beautiful thing that people don't realize, because ultimately good is always flowing to us and it's only a question of whether we let it in or not, you're letting go of that basically opened up that door without you having to manually force it open. And that's when things started to pick up. And you're right. Some people, it'll happen in 2 weeks, some people 2 years, some people 2 days. And I always like to reaffirm for people, it doesn't matter. What matters is letting it in, but also strategically, because I'm a strategy guy, doing whatever you can to enjoy your life in the meantime. Because when you think about it, yes, I'm glad it's great that you have a fiance and it sounds like you're happy, but there's other things in life you want, right? You're gonna want a bigger house, you're gonna want this car, you don't want this job, like you don't want your podcast to reach X number of people. Meaning, even when we're happy, there's always things that we're gonna want. And with that understanding and that knowledge, we might as well like be happy and joyful and content in the meantime, because even when we're happy, in the meantime is all the time we ever have.
True. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. So if there is someone listening right now and it's like, okay, the law of attraction, it's all fine, but how does it work for me? Like, how can I make it work for me? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
So the interesting thing is, a lot of times actually people hear it and they're excited and they're on board, and they actually even start to do it and they actually start to get results, and then they stop and they start filling their heads with things of, I'm doing it wrong. I can easily talk myself out of it. And just, this will be like a full circle telling people how to get there. But just so people understand, I think it's important for them to realize when they try it and it quote unquote doesn't work, or they get impatient, or they talk themselves out of it, that's a piece of their mind that I define as the ego. I'm not a clinical psychologist, so this is my definition. But as I've discovered, we've got a conscious mind and we've got a subconscious mind. And right in the middle, we've got that ego, which is way stronger than your conscious mind, which is where the problem is, but nothing compared to the subconscious. And the ego only has one job in this world, and that's to keep you alive, which means wherever you are right now with your money problems, your relationship problems, even health problems, your ego's like, okay, well, this person's alive right now. My person's alive and I love them. And this is a misguided thing, but I'm going to keep them safe in my way by keeping them stuck in place. Meaning someone out there might want to be rich and famous, but for all their ego knows is when they become famous, they're going to get a stalker, and that's a threat to their survival. For all their ego knows, when they get rich, they're going to have distant relatives coming out of the woodwork trying to sue them for their home, and that's a threat to their survival. So the ego is going to keep them stuck in place, and therefore the ego is going to use fear, uncertainty, doubt, whatever it needs to talk the conscious mind out of taking those positive moves, excuse me, or even rather, just doing simple gratitude exercises or whatever it might be. But here's the really interesting part. You can bypass the ego and access the subconscious mind, and then that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, whether it's governing your actions without you realizing, whether it's vibrating that signal to the universe or whatever it might be. So to long-winded answer, the way the person can do it is they can simply find a gratitude or visualization exercise that they enjoy, because if they enjoy it, you can't talk them out of it as easily. And then they only need to spend 5 minutes a day doing that. Meaning you could just go wake up and for 5 minutes, you set a timer, and for 5 minutes, you just think about things that you're grateful for. That's really all it needs. Part of this illusion, part of the ego getting in the way is it tells you that it's complicated. It tells you that you have to do a million different steps. It tells you that you have to do it perfectly or whatever it might be. But literally all you have to do is find time for a few minutes a day to experience gratitude. And as long as you're not trying to force the result, as long as you're open to seeing what happens, you will be shocked. You will be amazed at how things start to shift in your life, both in subtle and not so subtle ways.
yeah. So how does it work for you? How has it worked out for you? How did you find the law of attraction? Because you said you had your own story, so I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, so I discovered law of attraction back in 2004. And for me, I was I was an entrepreneur, I was a young entrepreneur trying to figure things out. And I think, anyone could relate, but specifically in my experience, entrepreneurs and salespeople, they could relate to having to kill your own dinner, so to speak. Meaning, if you have a bad week, there's no paycheck. You have to get that done. And I think people in that situation, they often find themselves searching for positive modalities, positive thinking, positive mindsets, that types, different things like that. So for me, law of attraction was one of many that I was exploring, and it kind of seemed to resonate. But again, I had that situation where I would start to do it. I was excited. It would start to work. And because I didn't understand the ego back then, I would stop. And I'd have successes, but I'd also have failures. And I went back and forth for about 4 years. And 2008 rolls around, and I finally, I'm forced to close down my business because nothing was working, everything was done. And 3 days later, my girlfriend of 3 years breaks up with me over a text.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm waking up on Monday. I've got my business. I've got my relationship. I'm waking up Friday, and everything's like 90% of my life is gone. And I had obviously
Wow.
like look in the mirror and do a real gut check and do a real assessment of like what's going on here. And I basically had this weird epiphany, but also weird moment of defiance where I got really stubborn and I really got indignant. And I was like, listen, that law of attraction thing, that seemed to work whenever I actually did it. And nothing else is happening and my life's going nowhere and something has to change. So you know what? I don't care what happens. I don't care when it happens. I don't care how it happens. I don't care why it happens. I don't care about any of that. All I know is this time I'm actually going to go all in with this once and for all. And when I say all in, I don't mean all day, every day, because regardless of how upset and motivated I was, I knew enough about my own human nature to know that I would burn out. But I
Yeah.
was upset enough and I was motivated enough that I could do 5 or 10 minutes a day of simple gratitude, simple visualization. I can do that. And as soon as I let go of how it was going to come and when it was going to come and just stuck to that and made this commitment, like, again, I don't care. I'll do this for a decade because it's only 5 minutes a day. I don't care. That's when things really shifted. Kind of like when you said, like, you're done with boys and you kind of threw your
Yeah.
hands up. I did a very similar thing of like, I'm done with requiring the result to be a certain way. I'm done with trying to force myself into the perfect life. I'm going to do this instead. And here's the really cool part. Within 2 weeks, I felt better, which is saying a lot with a broken heart. Within
Yeah.
three months, I'm in a brand new, way better relationship with a way better person suited for me. And we really clicked. Within 4 months, I'm making more money than at any point in my life before then. And within 6 months, everything's different. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm waking up happy, fulfilled, grateful. Like everything changed. And I basically learned the hard way that whatever this thing is, and we'll call it the law of attraction, whatever this thing is, it works if you work it. And the really cool part is, I didn't learn this from a book. I didn't learn it from a quote unquote guru. I didn't learn it from a mentor. I learned it from my own life experience. And that's actually the goal of my book. If my book can creep open that door and give a person an opportunity to do something just long enough to get the result, it's not me that teaches them. It's not the book that teaches them. It's not the universe that teaches them. It's their own life experience. And that's where the real power is. That's where you're forever changed and you're forever at your own agency to move forward in your life, doing what you want and finally inviting the things that you want.
Yeah, I think that's with everything in life. You have to realize it yourself, really, that it works or something doesn't work. Like for example, this morning when I was interviewing someone, we were talking about self-love and how important it is. But you don't realize it until you actually practice it, until you actually put an effort, intentionally effort into it. Then
Yes.
when you see the results. So it's funny how our brains work, because we often have all the information that we need, especially in these days. And when you the internet, like, you can find everything that you want, everything that you're looking for, all the answers are there. But you don't make changes in your life if you're not actively, intentionally making that information work for you, if that makes sense, if I
Oh, yeah.
worded it correctly.
Well, the thing is, more people are pretty smart when it comes to at least understanding concepts, but they get it intellectually. It's a huge it's huge difference between getting something intellectually and getting something experientially. And you
Yeah.
could only get something experientially if you give yourself the opportunity to experience it. If you actually say, listen, I'm going to try this, which, by the way, this isn't something that doesn't hurt. I'm going to do it in the privacy of my own home, so no one's going to be laughing at me. Like, there's no risk here. There's only an upside.
Yeah.
So it only comes down to making that decision of, you know what? I'm just going to try this. I'm going to try to be grateful for 5 minutes a day. I'm going to try to do fun visualization exercises. I'm going to have something that's so enjoyable that I look forward to it when I wake up. Or if it's my personal suiting, I can do it at the end of the day also. That's the beauty of this. There's no rules, but it's all about getting yourself to that point, excuse me, where you just look forward to doing it, and therefore you're consistent. And once you're consistent, that's where the experiential stuff comes in, because the momentum is there and you get your results.
Yeah, exactly. So, um, you talk a lot about gratitude and about visualization exercise. So, what are examples that people can do?
So I'll teach one of my favorite ones real quick. I mean, and there's countless ones too, because honestly, you can just sit down and set a timer and just keep thinking things you're grateful for. I call that a gratitude blitz. But if someone wants to get like a little bit more methodical, one of my favorite ones from the book is, and the one that, by the way, I personally attribute to inviting the most financial abundance back in 2008 when I was sorting through things. I call this the time lapse method. And what you're going to do is you're going to write down 15 things that you're grateful for. 5 are things from your past, 5 are things in your present, and 5 are things that you want in your future. But you're going to phrase them all in the present tense. Meaning, if you were to read that list to someone, they don't know if it hasn't happened yet. They don't know if it did happen. They don't know if it's true, if it's false. Like, they don't know anything. They just know, like, okay, I'll take this face value. So you write those 15 things, 5 past, 5 present, 5 future, all in the present tense, and then you jumble up your list. So maybe the first thing on the list is a present thing, and then the next one is from your past, the next one is your future. And then you're going to go through that list, and one at a time, you're going to read it. It could be out loud, it could be in your head, but you're going to read each item, and you'll give yourself 20 to 60 seconds to just feel gratitude for that thing. And here's the really cool thing. 2/3 of that list is real. It either has happened or is happening. Therefore, it's been manifested in your 3-dimensional, physical, tangible reality. Meaning the gratitude that you feel for those things, there's a certainty and a confidence and an enthusiasm and a power to it that just can't be faked. It just can't be manufactured. But because we as humans don't psychologically downshift very easily, that enthusiasm and that confidence is going to carry over when you're reading the future items as well. So you're simultaneously just feeling good in the moment while, depending on your outlook and your beliefs, either programming the universe or programming your subconscious mind or programming both to draw in and invite those future things for yourself. So no matter what, it's a win in that you feel good, but there's even more wins on the back end when things start to happen for you.
Yes, I love that, because I talk about gratitude as well, and a lot of people talk about gratitude, but I haven't spoken to anyone who describes it or gives an exercise like this. And I think people learn and understand different things different ways. So I think it's really important. Even though I have spoken about gratitude, I have spoken about self-love, as I said, I've spoken a lot about that. People learn in a different way. So it's so good to have those different perspectives, different exercises, because it may not fit with someone the first time they hear it, but maybe this way someone can enjoy it. And it's like, yes, like this is for me, this can work for me. And I love that. I love your input in that. So what I want to ask you, it's about your book, because your book is called The Lost Law of Attraction Book You'll Ever Read. Why is that? What is so different about your book than all the
Right.
others?
So you think about, I mean, what a title, The Last Law of Attraction Book You'll Ever Need to Read.
Yeah.
Very bold promise when you think about it. So it's almost like a risk, because you better back it up. Otherwise, you're going to get killed in reviews.
Yeah.
So that was part of this was, and I designed the cover really early on in the process. The goal wasn't to stop people from reading Law of Attraction books, but the goal was to make it their option, where rather than jumping from book to book to book and program to program to program, that they finally would have the opportunity, or give themselves the opportunity, to experiment and try this and get a result. Because in my opinion, any Law of Attraction book worth its salt is going to hopefully explain the Law of Attraction in a user-friendly, understandable way. Any Law of Attraction book also worth its salt is hopefully going to give user-friendly techniques and methods. I like to think or hope that I did those things, but what I did in addition, what I did that I think makes this hopefully, and some people, according to the reviews, the answer is yes. The thing that makes it the last one that they'll ever need is I'm also holding that mirror up to them. And, in addition to what I gave you the example of the ego, I'm explaining what's going on in their thought process that's preventing them from actually doing this.
Yeah.
So now they know the Law of Attraction, now they have the methods, and they have this new perspective, this new understanding of what's been getting in their way, so that it can no longer get in their way. Meaning the whole thing that makes this the last one is it finally invites them to use it, to implement it in a user-friendly way, get the result. And then, like I was talking about before, they don't learn from me, they don't learn from the book, they learn from their own personal life experience, because there's no better teacher than your own life experience. There's no more impactful, more influential, more important teacher than your life experience.
Yeah.
That to me was my intention. Every day I'd have the cover up on my computer screen and I'd kind of meditate on it before I wrote a chapter, because the whole point was to structure a book that was going to provide that experience for the reader.
Yeah, I love it. I need to read. I haven't read it yet. I'm sorry.
No, hey,
But
listen. Hopefully today is the day
I...
that that inspires you to give it a try. And the beauty is people go on Amazon, they can read the first chapter or first two chapters, depending on what they do. They read it for free because Amazon's got the preview section. So
Yeah.
people can actually read and get a feel for my writing style and what I'm offering before they spend any money.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that you can do it these days. Like, I love reading, but I wonder, this is maybe a little bit off topic, but
Mhm.
why do you think reading is so important? Because all successful people are reading books. Why is that, do you think?
So, I mean, reading really hits a lot of dimensions because you're reading fiction and you're reading nonfiction, and they both have different purposes. When you're reading fiction, for example, you're at the very least you're influencing your mind and introducing it to different concepts, different viewpoints, different angles, different imagery, different vocabulary, which can really just be a benefit in terms of how you operate, how you understand and view the world. But nonfiction to me is even more powerful because now we're in the category of using information that's going to grow your life.
Mm.
And that could be whether you're talking about, in terms of finances, financial strategy, in terms of relationships, in terms of business, in terms of marketing, in terms of nutrition and health, in terms of the law of attraction, right? So
Mm.
I think reading is super important, especially on a nonfiction level, because it's basically people have access to these resources. You could read a book from someone who spent 30 years studying something, and you're saving yourself the 30 years. And you're standing on the shoulders of giants, and all of a sudden you've got to do this. But the one thing I would say, because here I am giving a book that's designed to lower a certain kind of book, is no matter what you read, whether it's marketing, whether it's nutrition, whether it's the law of attraction, it's really important to implement what you learn. Otherwise, you're probably getting only a fraction of the real value out of those nonfiction books.
Yeah, the reason why I ask that is because I talk about, finding your health and your happiness in life. And um, I believe reading is a big part of that. And I just want to encourage people to read books. And you are actually the first um, author. Well, maybe not the first author, but we are really speaking about your book and what a book is about. So I was like, I want to have your opinion on that. I always
Yeah.
like to get people's views and stories because even though the listeners, I don't know, some can disagree on that. I just love to give people different ideas, different perspectives, and different ways to find their health and happiness in life.
Yeah. And one quick little extra piece on that. I mean, I was like an A- student in school, but I'll tell you, I avoided reading as much as I could in those years because the books weren't my choice. The beauty is right now,
Yeah.
you get to choose. The reason you're going to enjoy those books is because they're going to be something that interests you. Like me, if I have no interest in collecting rocks, I'm not going to read a book on collecting rocks. But me, I do have a huge interest in, me, again, an entrepreneur, business guy, sales guy. I love copywriting. So I'm going to read those copywriting books with a lot of enthusiasm, with a lot of curiosity. And I'm going to absorb the information so much better. I'm going to enjoy the moment that I'm doing it, which, just like gratitude, is good for you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the beauty of these books reading is sometimes where they helped you, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes you'll go about your whole day and you'll say something that really touched someone or reached someone. You don't even remember that you got it out of a book, and you don't even notice that it affected them. So sometimes there's wonderful things that are happening as a result of you reading that you never even noticed, but that are still there and are still making an impact in your life or someone else's life.
Yeah, well, I've noticed, for example, when reading a book, it's written in a certain way. It's the thoughts of the writer, and if that writer is successful in whatever he wrote about, you take over the way of thinking. You take over their language, and you implement that automatically in your life, if you know it or not. Like you said, if you are conscious of it or not. And I think that's why reading is also really helpful in self-development and having success in life. um, Now that we're talking about self-development and having success in life.
Yeah. And
um, yeah,
I'm
no, go
sorry,
ahead.
one more quick note. It's like me, I like reading like you. I discovered like a lot of people enjoy audiobooks. So quick little note to people that just don't like to read but want to consume information. I highly recommend audiobooks if you don't like reading for any reason, because you're still
Yes,
getting the content. So I
exactly.
was shocked at how many people when I came out with my book, the audiobook wasn't available right away. And I started getting requests like, how come you don't put out the audiobook? What's wrong with you? And as soon as I put it out, it was very clear to me that a lot of people read audiobook or listen to audiobooks, and a lot of people prefer that format. So everyone listening, whether you listen or whether you read itself, whatever, please give yourself an opportunity to consume books in whatever format works for you, because there's a lot of value waiting for you.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is with podcasts as well. You can listen to it when you're walking, and you still get that information. I love that. um, I have another question, because obviously we're talking about law of attraction, but what else do you implement in your life to attract all good things?
Well, so well, actually, we'll use the law of attraction to explain this, because a lot of people, I remember when The Secret came out, a lot of people didn't like it because they thought that it was misleading. And, and by the way, I thought The Secret was fine. I think they did a great job. But a lot of people like, listen, I can't just sit on my couch and will something to happen. And I tell people, well, you're right and you're wrong. So here's the thing. You're right. You can't just sit on your couch and expect the love of your life to walk through your door or expect the perfect job to come. But I invite you to sit on your couch and, and meditate and visualize and whatever happens, and then let ideas come to you and then take action on those ideas, because action is required in this. And I guess to try to answer your question, I take action in my life. But the key is, and I'm borrowing from Abraham Hicks here, it's inspired action. It's not action out of lack. When you're taking action
Yeah.
out of lack, that's basically in every moment that you're gritting your teeth and trying to force something, you're putting in the awareness and putting in the focus and sending out the vibration of the lack of what you want. But when you relax and you breathe in a little bit and you let good ideas pop into your mind, then all of a sudden you're taking action in a healthy, positive way. Like for me, 2008, when all that stuff happened, one of the benefits that I had was over the period of about 7.5 weeks, I lost 25 pounds without trying. But
Wow.
when I say I lost 25 pounds without trying, I wasn't sitting on my couch. I was working out with Sensei, but I wasn't doing it to lose weight. I was doing it just to feel better about myself. I was doing it because I enjoyed it. If you put me on a treadmill, I would have been bored out of my life and I would have done it. But because I enjoyed punching and kicking and working the bags and working out with Sensei, there was an enthusiasm there. So I'm not sure if this is answering your question, but like I take plenty of action in my life, but it's all out of inspiration. It's all out of feel. Me doing podcast interviews like this is because I'm inspired to do so. If and by the way, thank you. This is a wonderful conversation. I don't think I've ever been on a boring podcast interview, and of course I'm not. I love these things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So if I was bored by them, I wouldn't do them, and I think that's a key thing for people. So everything
Yeah.
I'm doing in my business in terms of talking about this, in terms of publishing YouTube videos and all those things, it's all inspired and it's all inviting a good result, and it's fueled by gratitude and visualization and things of that nature, because I know when I make choices, I'm actually inspired and motivated to do them. And therefore the energy and the intention and the result are always positive.
Yeah. So are you truly happy with your life?
Yeah. So I'm, by the way, I don't have perfect day. Like my days, not every day is perfect, but
No.
my lower days now are like the baseline that are, how do I phrase this? My best days 20 years ago are worse than my worst days now. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, because
Yeah.
you build and you learn to do better in life. And the thing is, I am happy, but also I I view joy as a result and a manifestation in and of itself, but I also view it as a strategy. Again, I'm a strategy guy, because I think sometimes we look at the word happy or the concept of happiness as this long off, like in the distance, out of reach thing that you'll get to eventually.
Hmm.
But also, you know, when you come home after a long day and you get a hug and kiss from your fiance, that's joy and that's happiness in that moment. When you're holding hands, that when you're cuddling up watching a movie, right? So for me, I'm happy in that I experience moments of joy and happiness every single day, also strategically, intentionally through my gratitude, to invite more. So I'm not blown away. Everything is great every single day and every single second. But I do have those moments where I'm blown away. But more importantly, I have those also subtle, calm, relaxed, easy moments of ease and happiness and comfort and satisfaction and contentment.
Yeah. So what is the happiest moment in your life that you were like, oh my God, like
Mm.
this is I would never want this to stop.
So I can't boil it down to one moment specifically. I can boil it down to pockets of time where there and not just one, by the way, and that could be like a week-long pocket of time or a month-long pocket of time. Because like I remember years back, I'm gonna do a YouTube video with a method that I'm basing off of it. I went to Maui, and it was just so relaxing and so fun. I remember I was on McKenna Beach, and now like everything was cool. Like every worry that was ever like even in this close to the stratosphere was like it vanished. So I could remember that. I could remember a couple of years ago just relaxing in San Diego, just being on Mission Beach. So it's like moments like that where I'm just like letting
Yeah.
things go. I can remember those specifically.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love to hear it. And I love to see the face of people when I ask, are you happy? Or think about the moment that, you were the happiest. I just love to see it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's good. Like so you're accessing the memory and the feelings, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what is the biggest lesson that you've learned from all of it?
Mm. Um, this is way simpler than anyone realizes. And that doesn't mean it's easy. I mean, it's easy if you, well, here's the thing. It's way simpler than you ever realize. And if you can find something you enjoy, it is then easy as well. That's the biggest lesson I've learned. Meaning, find, whether it's my book or my YouTube channel or someone else's book or someone's YouTube channel, or even some kind of method that you make up for yourself, I encourage people to find some kind of thing that they can do, a process, an exercise, a technique, whatever you want to call it, where they're just feeling good for a few minutes every single day to the point where they look forward to it, because then it's something that in the moment they're already winning, but also they just don't realize it till it happens. They're inviting a lot of good stuff. And by the way, they'll never realize it, but they're also sidestepping a lot of bad stuff. But they'll never know that they sidestepped the bad stuff because the bad stuff will never be there to be sidestepped.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where there are so many hidden benefits, but just find a way to enjoy a process and do it every day and see what happens.
Yeah, I love that you say that because as we are talking, I love to analyze as well. You may have noticed or not, but I love to do it. And the common theme that came back every single time is enjoy what you do, love what you do, have a joy, even exercise, money wise, your job. I truly believe that you have to love your job to be able to pay the bills and have a great income and get that raise, because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're not going to do it very long. And it's the same with eating healthy and working out and like everything. So I really love and really like that you say those things, because what I recently heard again is it usually comes back to self-love. So it's really refreshing to hear this, because this is really important as well. You need to do what you love, and
Yes.
I just love it.
Thank you. I'll tell you a really quick story. I remember I took a year off from martial arts, working out with sensei, just to give my body some muscle confusion and try something new.
Oh, I
And
love
I
martial
joined a
arts.
gym. I'm sorry.
Cool. I love martial arts. That's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, they're a lot. I love it. So I joined a gym, and I remember going in and I saw this person walking on a treadmill, um, reading a magazine while on the treadmill. Now, this is could be an unfair judgment or assessment, but my first thought was this person is not going to stick with their workout routine,
Yeah.
because if you're so bored doing it that you have to read a magazine, like I was thinking like this person has to find, I wasn't going to say anything, I'm like, live and let live. But my first thought was like, oh my God, like, you gotta like, if you want to stick with a weight loss plan or a workout plan or a love plan or a money plan or a marketing plan, whatever, you gotta love it in the moment. If you're bored or impatient and you've got to be entertained while you're doing it, it's like, that's another way of saying you're not enjoying it. So speaking to what you kind of like brought up,
Yeah.
like in everything you do in your life, and sometimes it's not as easy or convenient, but find whatever way you can to do it. So real quick, and I don't want to run out the clock on you here, but one method I teach in my book, I call it the discount trigger method. So someone there's like, they're not liking their job. This goes back to a story where there was an entrepreneur where he sold a product and a lot of people asked for a refund. And he felt so bad about it. Not only did he refund their money, but he offered them a discount on a different, more expensive product, which they often bought and loved. And what he realized is like, oh my God, I'm making more money off the people that are complaining and making me give this thing than the people that aren't complaining, which to me, I interpreted as he basically used those requests for refunds, which are negative indicators, as a cue to do something positive, i.e. offer them a discount. So I call it the discount trigger method, where if you're at work and you don't like your job right now, and maybe your boss is yelling at you every single day about something, have a pre-planned moment or visualization or meditation that you could do that is going to be in response. Like, all right, every time my boss yells at me, whatever happens, I'll find 5 minutes and I'll think about my puppy. I'll think about my best friend when I was a kid. I'll think about my like whatever. And you're basically using this negative thing as an excuse or a cue or a trigger to make you do something positive and make you implement a positive visualization instead. So those people that don't like your job right now, do something strategically like that in the moment, which will up your vibration. And before you know it, you'll either end up loving that job or you'll end up finding a better one, having being handed to you on a silver platter.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That is really great. That is yeah. That's amazing. I think I'm going to do that as well. Not that I hate my job, but just in other aspects of life as well. I wouldn't say it's making it bearable. It's just finding something in that moment, like you said, turning something negative into positive.
Yeah. Like as one example, and you know your life better than me, and you're going to be way more creative with this. If I were you, because again, you have your fiance here, I'd write out the 10 favorite dates that you've ever been on with your fiance, and now you've got a list. So when something happens at work that's predictably going to happen, you pull out your list. Like, I'm going to take 5 minutes and smile and think about this moment. Like, boom, you've got a perfect list that you know you're happy with, that you know you love, that you know it's not going to get old. Like thinking about that first kiss, that's never going to get old. That's a fun,
I'm thinking about it right now.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the discount trigger method right there. If something negative happens, you think it's something positive, and it fills you up with light and energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I see myself like glowing and smiling. Not that there's something negative going on right now. Like, I love having a conversation, but just any thought makes me happy. But that's also, yeah. I don't know. He makes me happy. I'm happy. So if people want to purchase this book or just want to get in contact with you, how can they reach you?
Yeah, well, I mean, the book's on Amazon. The website lastlawofattractionbook.com auto forwards to the US listing. I'm not sure how it'll go internationally, but people can just search for it on Amazon. It's called it's a long title, The Last Law of Attraction Book You'll Ever Need to Read. But if you don't want to pull out your wallet, I mean, it's Kindle, paperback, audiobook, whatever format you want. But if you don't want to pay money yet, like, I have a YouTube channel. It's Andrew Kap. That's Kap. Just look for Andrew Kap on YouTube. I think it's youtube.com/Andrew Kap. And, I teach new methods. Sometimes I'll interview LOA experts. I have a few other fun surprises. So whether it's the book or the YouTube channel, which, by the way, they have a content section if someone wants to email me, I'm hoping one of those sources will serve somebody well.
Okay, awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Well, two things. One, thank you so much for having me. And two, one more quick thing from the book. I always love to teach people, if I'm ever asked, like, is there one more thing you want to share? Yeah. And this is real quick, I'll say the concept of manifestational raindrops, because everyone knows what it's like to be out when it's overcast and like their skin starts to tickle. Mm-hmm. And then a minute later, they start seeing like little specks on maybe their dark clothing. And then a minute later, they'd see like splotches hitting the ground. And then before you know it, there's a torrential downpour. And the point is, that little tickle on the skin wasn't like a thing of maybe the storm's going to happen. No, that basically, the storm's inevitable. And by that same token, I'm from the States, so I talk about pennies. Like, you're walking down the street and you see a penny. It isn't just a penny. It isn't just 1 cent. It's the universe giving you money. If you celebrate that, that's an indicator of all the financial abundance on the way. That's a manifestational raindrop. And I remember as a experiment one day, I was like, I'm going to look for a penny, and as soon as it happens, I'm going to be excited and invite more abundance. And I didn't see a penny, but I did get $2 extra of change when I was ordering food, which is 200 pennies. It wasn't in a coin form, but it was 200 pennies. It was $2 extra. I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. And basically, like, the lesson here is, the storm of abundance is always going to rain down on you. The only question is, are you going to hold up an umbrella of resistance or not? Because it's raining no matter what. And that first match on a dating app is a raindrop. That first date is a raindrop. That first kiss is a raindrop. Holding hands is a raindrop towards the love of your life, for one example. But even if that's not the person that you're going to end up with, those are still raindrops. That's still the universe telling you that this is on the way. Same with your job, same with your health, same with everything. View the little things in life as raindrops, and you'll realize that the storm is inevitable, and you'll invite the storm that much faster and that much better.
Oh, I love that. Yes, I love it. Thank you so much for this conversation. I'll leave everything in the description box so people can contact you. And yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you now know what the law of attraction is and that you are going to use it for your own good. All the information about Andrew's book you can find in the description, or if you just want to contact him or me, all the details are over there. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.